guys, how's it going? Today we are going to be focusing mostly on garden maintenance. We've got some perennials to cut back, things like salvia in particular. We've got to cut back this big elderberry shrub. There's actually 2 of them along this walkway. We need to do some work on the climbing rose, deadheading roses, etc. It's supposed to get windy though, so we may end up in the studio working on bulbs that we just lifted from the cut flower garden. The tops have died back, so those are ready to be cleaned up. So I'm not sure what's going to go on. It's been such a weird day. You can see I'm wearing a big puffy vest because it's been chilly. We woke up to, I think it was 45 this morning, and just a few days ago it was in the high 90s, and tonight's supposed to be 41. So it's just been incredibly interesting. On and off light and on and off little bit of sprinkle, a little bit of rain, but it's looking good out here. I want to focus here on the west side, which we'll do a walkthrough here real quick, but I want to show you the tools that I'm going to be using. The cutting tools that I use most often are, of course, my Felcos right here, and then probably the loppers, hedge trimmers if I'm doing a larger swath of perennials. And then I brought our battery operated pruners out. They kind of scare me. I feel like you could do so much damage to yourself so quickly with those, but they are very handy when you're working on things like the elderberry. May or may not use those. We've got a shrub rake, and then we've got a pop-up bag. Quick look here at the west side. Starting here, we've got some roses to deadhead. These are the Ambridge Rose. They're absolutely gorgeous, but there's a lot of spent, especially this one, spent blooms right in here that we need to take off. We need to carve out a pathway through the Colette Rose, possibly a little deadheading on that one. There's a ton more buds though mixed in with some of the branches that have blooms to deadhead, so we'll tackle that. We also need to take care of this monstrosity of an elderberry. This is the Instant Karma. It's enormous, and there is a tree form hiding underneath all of those branches. It just grows so fast. We're about a week or 2 off on a lot of our perennial cutback here. Like our Nepeta, it still has a lot of color left. The bees are still loving it. So I'm just gonna wait a little bit. You can also see down below where the new canopy is forming and new buds are forming up. So we'll let these die back a little bit more before we come, and we'll shear them right to that little dome of new foliage. We've got some Lady's Mantle. It hasn't started to brown yet. I usually wait till the blooms start to brown a bit, then we cut it back. The salvia is the main one over here. If you take a look at the first flush of blooms, very little color left on the whole plant, looking pretty tired. If you look in closer though, down below, there are new blooms starting already. There's little ones right in here. So there's a couple of different methods to cutting back salvia, both of which have pros and cons. For sure, the first method is cutting the plant all the way back down to the ground. That's the one I usually do just because I'm usually more pressed for time. You also don't need to inspect every branch and make sure you're not cutting off bloom stalks. It's just quick, easy to do. You also end up with a fresher looking plant later on down the road, later in the season. It looks way better. The other method is going in and just making more selective cuts. You're following the branch down or the spent bloom stalk down, taking a look at where the nice leaf canopy starts or where there's new blooms and making your cuts right above that. So if we look at this one, for example, we've got like the main stem here and then it's forked at the top. 5 different ways. If we take a closer look up top, there's new blooms forming. I wouldn't probably leave it up that high. I would probably take it down to about here, where you've got a couple of lateral branches forming up new buds at the tip of those already. So if you pop this stem off right above where it branches right there, you'd have a fairly clean look. All of that might make more sense when we get into the project. Because we don't have as much cutback to tackle in this area, we can spend a little bit more time going through this so that we aren't lacking color for as long as we would if we cut it all the way back. Look at these roses. Oh, they're so pretty. Midnight Masquerade, Penstemon looking awesome. Veronica's just starting to bloom right here. Oh, this whole flower bed is just really pleasant to look at. We've got a beautiful ground cover thyme right here. Oh my word, the bees are loving it. I don't know if you can see, they're like buried in it almost. Nepeta that we'll cut back in a little while. We need to deadhead the ajuga. So this ground cover ajuga, we can go in and just pretty much pop these stems off. So we don't have to look at those brown things anymore. Anything else? Oh, there's more salvia right here looking real sad. Delphiniums that need to be staked up. Some more penstemon in here. Thrift that we need to deadhead, and that one's pretty self-explanatory. We'll follow these back. I'm gonna use pruners because I can't do it with my, well, there we go. We'll just follow that bloom stalk all the way back and we'll be left with nice grassy looking clumps and the fresh blooms. More salvia in here. We do have another elderberry in this space. If we make it down this far, we will take after that. There's some campanula blooming beautifully. Can't even see most of it due to the elderberry. And there's more crummy looking salvia right there. And verbascum that needs to be cut back. Bloom stalks can go all the way back down to the foliage. Got some gorgeous white yarrow. Look at the daisy maze right here. Oh, they're so pretty. White wands of Veronica, more penstemon. Okay, honestly, if you want a plant that the honeybees just cannot get enough of, this is the go-to right here. White wands of Veronica. I do not know what it is about this plant, but the honeybees are just absolutely wild for it. And turning back down the other way, we've got some Boscobel roses that need to be deadheaded. Okay, I better quit talking. We better start working before weather arrives. It'd be nice if we could get this whole flower bed done today. Look at this though. I am just so loving the color combination over here, loving the mixture of plants. It's just been such a wonderful one to watch grow and fill in because of, you know, how it started versus how it looks today. Oh, so fun. And we still do have a few pockets here and there to pop some plants in. Okay, we're gonna start here, work our way down. All right, guys, it is a new day. I got kind of weathered out yesterday afternoon. The wind was starting to blow pretty hard and I needed to go around and button some things up and get some water before any more wind came around. So all we're left with to finish up this morning to get this side done is a little bit of rose deadheading. We will walk through the rest of the bed and what we got done here in a minute. But these 3 Boscobel roses we need to deadhead. So you can just see just a little bit of cleanup. There's a ton of buds These are such a wonderful rose. And it was chilly this morning. It got down to 40 degrees at the end of June. That is just wild to me. I mean, all of us walking around in our sweatshirts and vests and jackets and things yesterday at the end of June. We do have a couple of days that are right around 100 at the end of this week, and then it looks like another cool down, and it looks like we're gonna be in the low 80s. So if we can go into July like that, that's amazing for this area. Anyway, I've got the greenhouse all closed up. We had to put the sides down and actually turn the heater on because I've got some tropical pond plants in there. I didn't want to have them freeze, but what a weird deal. All right, let's get our chores done over here. Real quick, when I come in here at this stage of the rose deadheading, you can see that a lot of them, like this one right here, is a single rose on a stem, which most of them on this plant are not. So in a case like this, I just follow it down to a set of 5 leaves, which is right here, and make my cut right above. I do not cut just the bloom off or leave any stubby, branches. I like it to look nice and clean like that right there. Most of what we're going to be finding today, though, are things like this, where I've got a bud and a spent bloom, so I just go in and pop that spent bloom off and leave the bud. Here's another example. This one's got 2 spent flowers, so I'm going to follow that one down for a set of 5 leaves right there and make my cut like that. Okay, let's get it done. There are the roses looking so clean and tidy and beautiful. All we're left with are the blooms that have quite a lot of good life left in them and tons of buds, which means a ton of color. And these Boscobels, they always are a good performer for us. Really fragrant too. Some roses seem to flush in and out of color, and while this one may have moments where it's got more color than others, there always seems to be blooms on these plants throughout the whole season. Turning back this way, I didn't really have to do any maintenance in this space. Right here, everything's looking pretty good. The first place where we did some cutback is right here. So I went in and cut back for Bascom, which I can see one little stalk that I missed. It was so dang windy, that's what I'm gonna blame it on. But the leaves that we're left with always look kind of flat. Really happy that I popped them toward the back of a flower bed, and I've got some room to maybe pop something right in here to cover those a bit. And then here are some of the salvia plants. So when you've got them planted pretty close together, some of the stems that you're left with have some dead leaves on them, and you could take your time and clean that up. But soon these will be flushed back out with color and they'll look really good. And when we take a look at the other clumps of salvia toward the front of the bed, they actually look a lot better than these, because you can see I was going a lot faster because I was noticing the wind picking up. But these will have a bunch of color here shortly. The elderberry, oh my goodness, doesn't that look different? That's how it should look all the time. And it's amazing, like we unearthed the arborvitaes, which don't look great, you know, where they were all, well, just buried behind this elderberry, but they tend to bounce pretty quickly. So I'm hoping that if we can kind of keep up on our prune job here, that those will fill back in and we'll have a nice green wall again. It unearthed the campanula that are looking so pretty. And then we get into some more cutback and deadheading. There was a rose, or is a rose right here, that was pretty shrouded by the elderberry, so I think it's going to be happier getting a little bit more light. Do you guys remember what this button bush looked like last month? I think it was in our May garden tour. I showed you and I was just like, I am unimpressed with this shrub. It was so gorgeous last year and then it looked so weird this spring and it was very sparse. There was one area that looked okay, but the rest looked kind of puny. Well, it's come back with a vengeance and I think it's bigger than the tag says it's supposed to be. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have planted it here. It's a Sugar Shack button bush. I don't know if I just said that, but I think they're only supposed to get like 4x4 at max. This is way bigger than 4 feet. I mean, it might be, the height might be sort of on. It's a little bit taller though right there. I mean, I'm 5'4", and that branch, if I stood next to it, is probably as tall or taller than I am. But I'm just super impressed by its comeback. I mean, beautiful glossy leaves. And the blooms getting ready here. We've just got some buds. So those will be sphere, white, kind of fluffy looking blooms. They're really pretty. But my word, it's just huge. We've got some Agastache looking beautiful. I cleaned up the thrift and it's looking much more fresh, just seeing mostly pink. I can see a few little bloom stalks that I missed, but if you get most of it, you just don't really even notice those. Deadheaded the rose right here. We were left with a few stalks looking nice. It's a Mary Rose. And I think in this whole space, like the pups of chartreuse is kind of what brings it all together. This is the Drops of Jupiter oregano right here. And I probably should come in and hack that back by about half so it doesn't get as tall as it usually does. But also the lady's mantle with the chartreuse, just having those little pops of that brightness along this walkway is just so pretty. I can even see from the wind we got last night, some of the roses I left probably need to come off. Right here we have a Brandywine viburnum. Beautiful fall color on this one. You can see the white discs of bloom turn into pink and blueberries. I just love glossy leaved shrubs like that. I didn't have to do anything to the penstemon. It's looking glorious and the hummingbirds adore this plant. And then with the delphiniums back in here, I just decided to leave them mostly. I got after that staking project too late. They've already kind of hardened in the direction they're growing, and if I try to straighten one up, which I did, it pops off right at the base of the plant. So I decided let's just enjoy the blooms and then we'll cut them back and try to be better about staking them in the future. I hate staking plants. It's like one of the worst things. That's why a lot of times I just don't do it. They intermingle with things and look pretty. There's some delphiniums growing through the lady's mantle. Very nice. One growing through the rose right here. We just recently planted some geraniums in here. We've got a little bit more space to pop something in here. These are white phlox. We've got some ajuga that I cleaned up, salvia right here. See, this is looking a little bit more clean because I didn't leave as long of stalks in here. And we've got a buddleia. This is a Miss Violet, and it's got buds everywhere. I think it's got some color. Yeah, right here. That's the color of it. But it's got buds forming up all over. This one I cut all the way back down to the ground this spring, which we have to do with most of our buddleias every year. I love the iris texture as well. That's something that I do have on repeat in this flower bed. This is a Glow Girl Spirea. It just got done blooming. You can see all this new growth. Holy moly. I don't think that these are supposed to get all that huge either. I don't know, but I love the color on this one. You can see the new growth has kind of this tinge of orange. Beautiful fall color, and I love the chartreuse here. These are a Stokes Aster, so a late summer bloomer. Got some more space to do something. Oh, look what I missed. Look at this. Masquerading as a phlox, I don't think so. Got these roses deadheaded. Love the Veronica. I need more of that. Like everywhere. Anything that's got this shape of bloom, I don't know what it is, I just love it. Caryopteris have come back beautifully. Right here we've got some more Stokes Asters, some salvia that I actually didn't cut back because it's got quite a lot of color still. Geraniums, ajuga, more penstemon. You can just see the repeats that we have going on here. This is the first group of salvia that we cut back. So when we cut the plant all the way back down to the ground, so method number 1, you're just left with pretty much nothing. So it looks like a hole. So even though we're gonna have a little lull while these form up all of the buds that I'm seeing here into actual blooms, at least we have something green here. And then the big change down here is that you can actually see what's going on. You can see through the arbor you can see the structure of the elderberry. You can actually see the beech tree right here. This is a red obelisk beech, completely taken over by the elderberry there for a moment. So let me back up here. Look at that. Oh, so much better. I had planted anemones back in here, and if you don't keep up on the pruning, like they're an amazing small tree, but they are so aggressive in their growth rate that you really have to keep up on it all the time. Otherwise, things just kind of get smothered out. I mean, case in point, look at our rose arbor. I did no pruning right here. The branches were just growing kind of into the roses, so it's really full on this side, and this side didn't really have a chance because it didn't have the light or the airflow to do so. It's fine. The rose plant is completely fine if you look in here. There are buds all over it and healthy green leaves, but it just didn't grow as prolifically as the other side. I did not spend a ton of time deadheading this one, just cleaned up the branches mainly that were in our way. And then we got this little area done. Deadheaded these roses, cleaned up the anemones that were spent. Just looking really nice. And look at the lavender, oh my gosh. The Sweet Romance lavender hedge looking so beautiful. Oh, I'm just so happy with it. And I'm also incredibly pleased with our bachelor's buttons in there, which self-seeded, and the bees just love them. Let's take a look. I don't know if you guys can see all of the movement in there from all the bees, but it's just so fun to see that every time we come in here. Oh, and it's so nice to look through this arbor and actually see the garden beyond. I love how this view is framed. Oops. I'm gonna move this so it's centered. Otherwise that'll bug me. There we go. Love it. And you guys, that is going to do it for this project. Super happy to have this area buttoned up for this time of the year. When you've got roses though and things that are blooming here and there throughout the summer, it's kind of a constant maintenance sort of thing. You just start on one area of your yard and work around it and then start over again and do more maintenance. Sometimes you do a little bit more than others, like with the elderberries. I don't have to do an overhaul like that every single time. So the next time we come through here, it'll probably be to cut Nepeta back, to deadhead roses again, and then just do any little random maintenance that we find. So the next trip through here, I think will be a lot quicker of a trip through. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and we will see you in the next video.